Hey, it's the Ray Rican, and of course, I got to talk about what's the big news of the day, which is what's going on in Afghanistan. And just full disclosure, um, I was always for the uh, our withdrawal of Afghanistan because I'm someone who's not an interventionist. I like to. I think our troops should have been home. 20 years of being over there is enough. But there's a big but. Um, if you see what Trump had in Trump's deal with the Taliban was violated by the Taliban, and basically, you know, what's going on now is a failure of leadership. People are going to want to like uh, Biden's going to speak around 4 o'clock, and of course, he's going to put the blame on Trump. I'll be surprised if he doesn't, but he is his strategy because let's be realistic. People talked about how bad Trump was going to be with foreign policy and how bad, how dumb he was and all this. The one thing that Trump had going for him when it came to foreign policy is that he was viewed as a loose cannon. He was viewed as being, uh, kind of crazy. Let's be realistic. That's what they viewed him for. They viewed him as being unstable. That was also the news perception of him. Do you think the Taliban would have had the audacity to let's say to violate the order under Trump if they thought that, let's say, that he was crazy enough to just start bombing them all of a sudden? But this is what happens when you have a weak leader. That's what's going around the world right now. This shows the contrast. This what's going on right now is showing the contrast between a weak, feckless leader like Biden versus Trump. It's like you guys who voted against Trump, not for Biden, this is your fault. This is partly to blame on you. Okay. Now this whole Afghanistan, well, let me finish that point. Why I say it's your fault is because you guys allowed the media to manipulate you to hate a guy just because the fact that they didn't like him. So you guys didn't never read between the lines and seeing all the BS that they would put out there and all the corrections they would have to make later on. You guys ignored the corrections. And here we are, foreign policy a mess, domestic policy a mess. Um, but like I said, anyway, that's the weak leadership of Biden. But at the end of the day, when we're going to look back at what's going on in Afghanistan, it's a failure of leadership. Not just, I'm not going to put all the blame on Biden. We got to look, and we've been there for 20 years. So we've had, four presidents during that time. So what I was hearing was, I got my note here. The Afghan military force was training as if they were always going to have American air support. That's a failure in military leadership. You have you're training a foreign country military force to rely on American air support. Excuse me, I have a summer cold. So um, this was horrendous strategy. It's like you had to teach them how to fight with what they have there. You don't teach them to fight with what you have. I mean, this is a failure in leadership. This is a failure in our military. When you have, and what I'm going to talk about here also is here. Let me share this real quick. I'm going to talk about. I was going to talk about this here. Um, here's a Bloomberg going. Biden delivers on Trump's Afghan exit, which is nonsense because this is this is laying the groundwork. The media is laying the groundwork to blame it on Trump because, like I said, we were going to a withdrawal, but Trump had benchmarks for them to meet, and Biden ignored them. So, yeah, I was going to talk about that, but I'm going to keep talking about this. This is what I want to talk about when I say when I say that this is about a failure in our military. Just look at our chief of staff. Look, here goes Joint Chief of Staff Mark Milley defends critical race theory. I want to understand white rage. It's not your job to understand our domestic internal policies. Your job as the chief of staff and to be in the military is to fight foreign wars for us, to figure out, okay, if China, let's say if China attacks a country or Russia attacks a country, what do we need to do to win? This is what you need to concern yourself about, not white rage, not this whole, just to generalize the term wokeism. Wokeism should not be in the military. I understand it's infecting our society, but the military should be off limits. This is who protects us at the end. And if we're going to woke the military, then we're done, because that means, China has carte blanche across the world. I'm sorry. Excuse me for 1 second. Like I said, I have a summer cold, so talking gets my throat dry, so I need drinking. So excuse me. But yeah, so it's a failure in our military leadership to that they're more concerned about this nonsense than what's going on outside our borders. Now what's going to go on is, look, I was for leaving Afghanistan, but I thought after 20 years they'd be ready to defend themselves against the Taliban. And like I said, it was a failure in strategy and all this stuff. We should have been teaching them how to fight their own wars, but I guess I don't know where our leadership is when it comes to this stuff. I mean, it's sad what's going on. We should have protected the people. When we're going to scale back, before we were scaling back to exit, we should have these people who are like, I mean, I don't know, let me see if I see some videos here. I wanted to show one video there, but hold up, I'll show this one. But let's see, I'm just gonna go with you guys through Twitter to see where like I saw the video of here's a picture of the Taliban at the presidential. What I'm trying to show is that I'm sure you guys are going to see it. It was like a rush to get into the airport, people holding on to planes. Yeah, here is one right here. Here's people holding on to the planes, trying to get on. You can see people. Oh, there you go. It shows that. So, I mean, that's disturbing. I mean, I don't know if you could saw it clearly in that clip. That's why I grabbed this clip where you could see it clearly. You see the person falling. And that's, I mean, it's remnant of 9/11. But, this is something that we should have, when we knew we were leaving, we knew we were leaving. We should have the people who helped us there, like translators and all that stuff. These are people that we should have evacuated months ago. We knew this was happening. We should have evacuated some of these people months ago. We should have given them green cards, asylum, whatever, for assisting us for the years that they were there. that we were there. That's just the fact that we're leaving them there to be slaughtered, just like we did the Kurds in Iraq. They compared this to the fall of Saigon. That's what they're comparing this to. This is it's unacceptable. But like I said, it's a failure in our leadership. I mean, like I said, here's a different article. Um, After claiming to be personally offended over accusations that the drag queen loving U.S. military is woke, chief chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff, Army General Mark Milley said, "I want to understand white rage, and I'm white." Oh, okay, because that's not woke at all. That's funny, which is true. And that's the whole thing. Um, when we have we're in a country right now, we're at war with ourselves. We are, you have the people that want to focus on the worst of us versus the people who want to focus on the best of us. You got people who want to focus on, that want to, they say they don't want to teach critical race theory. And they say that it's nonsense, that we just want to teach history. Well, you don't want to just teach history. If you wanted to just teach history, that'd be fine. But when you want to teach about privilege, oppressed versus oppressor, and then you go down the line, and like I said, I've done videos where you see where I break it down from, I just use Wikipedia, which is a left-wing source, where you see critical race theory being an offshoot of critical theory, and critical theory being um Marxism. But here we are. So now, not only is our military infected with this wokeism, they're infected with Marxism, because that's what wokeism is. It's a offshoot of critical theory. And you got people who are, um, want this country to become socialist, Marxist, and it's scary, because then that means that what's going to happen, in order to get there, we're not going to be able to keep maintain it as a democracy. We're going to, in order to get that, Venezuela voted it in, and then when they didn't want it, they couldn't want it no more. They couldn't vote it out, because by then power was taken over, and that's what goes on with it. You could vote yourself in, but you got to fight your way out. Um, so said, excuse me, but um, so yeah, so with all this stuff going on, it's a failure of leadership all around. It's something where, like I said, it's been 20 years of failed leadership on both sides of the aisle. I mean, like I said, 20 years, and this is what we got for the blood we shed there, the money we spent there. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, the Afghan forces gave up instead of fighting. They gave them their weapons. They gave them. Now, granted, I'm going to say this, and this might piss off people on my side too. Right now, part of this is also, we got to understand that we don't know everything that's going on over there, and I don't know exactly which side we're going to trust when it comes to media of getting this stuff out. Some of this stuff could be propaganda on what's going over there, and it's propaganda on both sides. We got to figure out what's the truth. And that's going to be the difficult part coming up in the next few, well, not just next few weeks, but that's basically what's going on right now. We have to um we have to fight the authoritarians in our country, because that's what's going on. It's freedom is freedom is always generation away, and we could if we don't fight for our freedoms, then we could end up like Afghanistan, tribal, and we are already in a tribal war, but we could be not free. and I don't want that for my children. I don't know. So, in conclusion, just be aware there's going to be a lot of blame going around. Both sides where they're going to blame each, and like I said, there's a failure of leadership on both sides in this because we've been there for 20 years. And the fact that they were overrun in a matter of a couple weeks, that's that's unacceptable. We have to go and reflect with ourselves. Our military needs to reflect and go, what were we teaching these people? What did we do wrong? So like that, we get it right in the future, because this is going to embolden China. What's going on right now in Afghanistan is going to embolden China, especially when it comes to Taiwan. And we cannot give up Taiwan. It'd be a huge mistake for us to just cede Taiwan to China. But we're still making that mistake in Afghanistan. As much as I wanted to get out of Afghanistan, we just opened the door for China and Russia to just recognize the Taliban. Now they're talking about that the new Silk Road, or what's the China program. They want to build the road into Afghanistan now, which would make it easier for China to extract the rare earth minerals that are in Afghanistan. That's what's going to go on now with us stepping out of the power vacuum. So I was for us getting out of there, but I didn't want to leave that power vacuum. I didn't mind us leaving a very small contingent there to help out the forces. But the fact that we trained them wrong, we trained them that like we were always going to be there with air support. That was the mistake. And now, we're getting out of now that we're getting out of there, our agreements with Pakistan. Pakistan's making agreements with the Taliban and removing us support in the country there. So it's a big mess. It's a really big mess. And there was never a simple solution to getting out of there. But we just basically got the bonehead to make the stupidest decision of them all. Like I said, maybe under Trump, the Taliban would have just came in and actually, negotiated, because they didn't want to deal with the unpredictable Trump. But instead, they got the predictable Biden response, which was nothing. But we'll see what he says. I'm curious to what he says in a couple of hours. I might make another video depending on if he inspires me to say something different. So I'm gonna leave it there. I'm the Right Rican. You can follow me on if you're watching this on YouTube. I'm also on Rumble. If you use both, I should subscribe on both channels, even if you use one more than the other. And you can interact with me on social media. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, and Telegram. With that being said, have a good one.